We need to understand that our preferences sometimes get in the way of worship, because if you think I can't worship to this type of music, then you aren't worshiping in the first place. I think that's key. The definition of worship is giving back to God what is his.
I think that's exactly where I stand. Like, you come ask me why we chose to sing this song. This group does this group does that. Their pastor that leads this church is borderline heretic, whatever. He's saying these things, he's doing these things. And I'm like, look at the song. Is it biblical? Does it line up spiritually and biblically? And if it does, I'm going to sing it.
Right.
Welcome to Let's Talk About That, the podcast where we dive into conversations about life and share stories of faith. We're thrilled to be on this journey with you. Whether you're a longtime listener, someone who calls the Orchard home, or you're just stopping by, Let's Talk About That is your space to explore, reflect, and connect. Join us as we navigate the intricacies of faith, spiritual formation, and daily life as we invite guests to share their stories with us. So grab a cup of coffee, find a comfortable space, and let's do this together. This is Let's Talk About That, where you can be encouraged and inspired by God's work in our lives.
All right, we are back with episode 84 of the podcast. Last week, we had the privilege to talk with Dr. Coggins about disaster relief. If you missed that, you need to go back and listen to that episode. We got a lot of good feedback on that, Matt. It was a good conversation about things that we see, but we don't know that we're seeing, right? Because we see the impact everywhere. We just don't understand that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it was really eye-opening, because, I thought I had a good handle on, just from the last couple of years, seeing the disaster relief volunteers from the convention come in their yellow hats, yellow shirts, yellow vests. But when you paint the grand scheme of things, if it doesn't happen in Florida, then it's often off our radars. And, Dr. Coggins talking about, I just got back from Kentucky not too long ago because of flooding. And I'm like, I didn't even know there was flooding in Kentucky this year, so... it just kind of opens your eyes to the grand perspective of just how involved collectively those volunteers are across the country.
Yeah, it was a good conversation. So I encourage you to go back and listen to it. Today, we have a not so esteemed guest in our Live Oak worship leader, Mr. Lucas Lott.
People are saying that he lost all of his strength when he cut his hair.
I hear that.
Here we go.
I hear that.
Started.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
By the way, if you didn't catch it, Lucas had a birthday last week, so he's now like 37 years old or something like that. Is that right?
How old are you now, Lucas?
Close enough. 34.
34. Baby.
Almost halfway to 70.
How about Matt? How about you? How old are you, Matt?
I am 32.
32.
At least for a couple more months.
Look at you guys. And then Aaron just walked in the office, and Aaron is... How old are you, Aaron?
I am 40.
I am 40. All right. The reason that she is saying that is because Aaron and I are 6 months apart. And I also just had a birthday and turned 41. And so Aaron loves the 6 months where we're not the same age, because the 6 months we are the same age, I convince everybody that she's the older one. So she's not, but hey, 41, it's all downhill after that. I told Leanne, I was like, no longer am I 40. I'm now in my 40s. And that feels completely different.
Yeah.
Feels completely different.
It's just different. Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
But
I'm officially mid 30s. Like, he's still early. Matt's still early 30s. I'm mid 30s now.
Oh yeah, you're full on in. You're full on in. But I guess people didn't hop in to hear us talk about our birthdays and how old we are and the fact that my back hurts. But today we are shifting gears a little bit. We've been doing a Q&A series leading up to the podcast last week with Dr. Coggins. And this week we are going to address a question, but it's really not the Q&A series. What it is a question that we get asked often. And we were asked this question when we asked people to submit them. And so I figured it'd be a good conversation for us to have. But I think this is something that we're asked often enough. It doesn't necessarily have to fit in the Q&A series. And it comes in various forms and different nuances. But really the question is, why don't we sing hymns at the Orchard? Why do we do worship the way that we do it? Right? So Lucas, answer the question.
Yeah. Put me on the spot. There we go.
Yeah, no,
I would say, no, listen. So I would say the first thing to preemptively answer that question would be to say we don't necessarily not do them, right?
That's right.
And
we're very intentional about when we do hymns.
Exactly. And especially my folks in Live Oak, they're going to say, and then folks who have attended, some nights of worship that we've done corporately and stuff, they're going to say they've heard me sing a hymn. I mean, that's and just from my own experience and honestly just preferences, I grew up on hymns. Like, my dad has been a worship pastor my whole life, and he was a worship pastor through the 90s, through my childhood. And I'm telling you right now, 5 hymns a Sunday. And that's what I grew up on. And I think for me personally, I don't want to forget those songs just because, man, obviously there's some deep theology in some of those hymns, but at the same time, like, even me, I still feel like the principles of those songs are still so applicable today that students and young adults and young families can still learn from, even though, that kind of makes up the majority of our congregation, of our people. Like, still, like that, there's so much rich theology and things like that. They can still learn from those.
I'm going to push back a little bit on this because, and look, come at me. My email is lucas@theorchardcc.org. But I don't know that there's as much deep theology in all of our hymns as we like to pretend that there is.
All right. I'm going to give you one real quick to prove your point. All right. It's probably like top 3 hymns of all time, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody loves it. As soon as it starts, everybody knows what song it is. I'll Fly Away.
Yes.
Tell me the deep theology in I'll Fly Away.
When I die, hallelujah, by and by.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, so.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So the point that Chip is making is it's not that every hymn doesn't have deep, rich theology, because some of them do.
Well, and that's the point. The genre
does not determine
the theology. Who wrote the song determines the theology.
Exactly.
And there are some contemporary hymn writers that are writing songs with excellent theology. Honestly, one of my personal favorites to listen to randomly are Keith and Kristen Getty. They're an Irish couple. They write modern hymns for more of the higher church, kind of setting, but great theology. There's some hymns, great theology. It Is Well With My Soul. That's great theology. But there are new songs that have great theology.
Totally agree.
And there's new songs that have terrible theology.
Yes.
And there's old songs that have terrible theology. I tell people this all the time. Just a Little Talk with Jesus, right? I love the song. I love Just a Little Talk with Jesus. If you want to get a little block painted white church in the woods hopping, you do Just a Little Talk with Jesus on a hymn night in there, and that you're gonna sing the roof off that place. However, when you feel a little prayer wheel turning and a little fire is burning, Just a Little Talk with Jesus, right? That's Buddhism. Prayer wheels and incense altars are part of the Buddhist temple, and prayer wheels are literally built into the side of Buddhist temples so that as monks walked around and pray, they would spin the prayer wheels. So it sounds great, but it is Buddhist theology. And that is not me saying, okay, you can never sing that song again, because I know that's not what the author has.
Here's a fun one. Here's a fun one for you guys.
It's just not always great theology.
If you've been to a funeral, you've heard it. Go Rest High on That Mountain. Hymn, theology, or
well, I don't think that's a hymn. That's
not a hymn.
But it's played at every
Vince Gill.
It's played at every Bible Belt Southern funeral, right? Like it's a hymn, like it's
song.
biblical.
I have sung that song at a funeral. Yes.
All right, so what is your number one funeral celebration of life song? Because there is a far and away favorite for me.
Probably those two. I'll Fly Away and Go Rest High on That Mountain. I mean, Southern funerals.
Right. So here's my Southern funeral, and all day, every day. It's 1, 2, and 3. The list starts at 4 after this one. Give me Beulah Land all day long.
Oh yeah.
I love Beulah Land. Oh.
So my point in that though is this, and I saw a post on Facebook yesterday, and I was like this close to engaging with it. I didn't.
No,
because,
you weren't.
Well, I didn't because we need to practice what we preach.
Passive Pastor Matt.
We need to practice what we preach.
Followers.
And exactly. So practicing what we preach, it wasn't the best way to do that. I didn't want to come off as controversial with this person, because they just shared the post. I actually, I'm good with this person. I have no issues with this person. And so I didn't want to be the guy in the comments that looked like I was attacking that person. So I refrained. But the whole entire post was basically like condemning modern day music and LED lights and all that stuff and not singing hymns. And the problem with that is it's a false dichotomy. It's saying, hey, if you have LED lights on your stage, if you sing contemporary music or whatever, and you're not singing a hymn, then you're automatically like less than. You're automatically being soft. You're not preaching the true gospel. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with what you preach, right? And so it's just this false dichotomy. But the point in this is, go rest high on that mountain. It sounds like any good hymn, right? Like, I mean, the flow, the sound of it, like, is it a hymn? Is it not? Like, it sounds like it. It's not the genre that dictates what it is or it isn't.
That's right.
And so again,
we have to evaluate each song on its own individual merit.
The other point,
hymns having better theology, I think, is not.
The other point is this: have you ever picked up a hymnal?
Yeah.
How many songs from the hymnal do you actually sing?
Maybe 20.
Okay, so these are just the ones that were good enough to last through generations. The other 287 in the hymnal, you don't even know them. So how good is the theology in that? Or is it not about the theology at all? It's about your personal preference or the style, or this is the one that stuck. And I think every generation has songs that stick.
All right, so there's a hymn that was in the hymn book that we had in college. It was not one that was up here, right? Because the other thing you'll find out is hymns are different based on where you live, right? But the name of this hymn is called "God of Concrete, God of Steel." That's literally the name of the hymn.
Can you sing it for us?
I'm not going to sing that one for you. And when you look at it, it's, exactly what it sounds like. When you start the hymn, it starts out God of concrete, God of steel. Then it goes on God of piston and of wheel, God of pylon, God of steam, God of girder and of beam, God of atom, God of mine, all the world of power is thine. So
I love that verse.
A hymn about the Industrial Revolution. I mean, that's what it is. And it was written by a group of people, I believe, kind of up in, the Midwest and the, Rust Belt now, but it was, where all the manufacturing plants were. And so again, it is, when you look at hymns, okay, number one, we automatically immediately go to all the hymns that we love the best. Okay. That's not hymns as a whole. Hymns are a lot bigger than that, like you just said. And some of those hymns in those books that we've forgotten about, well, they're hymns that were written for the time that they were in, at the region that they were in, and some of them aren't that great. And so when they were that's all music everywhere.
So they were written by modern writers to a modern
all music
audience.
everywhere and music in each of their times, right? So
I think that's the point, though, is...
I wasn't... And so earlier, I wasn't pushing that there's only rich theology in hymns. No, I was saying there's still some...
But there is rich theology in some of the hymns.
Yeah,
I mean, one of my favorite hymns is Come Thou Fount.
Yes.
Like, I mean...
Oh, yeah.
Make fun of me if you want to, but on my Spotify playlist, sometimes, like, that I'm mowing my yard and I'm listening to Come Thou Fount, right? Because I just love the theology of the song. I mean, there's nothing wrong... Hear us say that there's nothing wrong with that. But as Chip said earlier, is what we do here, I would say most of the time on Sunday mornings, there's times where we do, maybe we tag a hymn at the end or even at nights of worship. Like, we're not anti-hymns, but most of the time what we do on Sunday morning is contemporary music, right?
And so let's talk about the why behind that, because there is a few whys behind that, but there's one very distinctive intentional why. And that is that when the Orchard was started by Pastor Eddie, Michael was right there with him, at the beginning, getting it started. The Orchard was started to be a different kind of church. We didn't want to be a church that just reached church people. We didn't want to be a church that reached the typical churched demographic. Eddie started the Orchard out of a burden of seeing the next generation begin to fall away from church as they moved off to college, started their families, whatever. And so he wanted Sunday morning church to look more like Wednesday night youth services so that we can keep the next generation engaged. And so the Orchard was started with an intentionality of always making sure that we are as close to the line of culturally relevant as we can get. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're at. And that's why from the beginning, we have chosen to do, I hate the word contemporary music, right? Because contemporary just means now. It's not a style of music. It just means now.
And also, okay, every song ever written was contemporary.
That's right.
At the time it was written.
Yes.
That's right. And that's why I like to say we have made the decision that we want to do culturally relevant music for the time in which we live.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be a church that exists in 2025, not 1925.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the intention behind it. So that is not as easy though as it sounds, because Lucas, it's a challenge,
Yes.
as a worship leader to make sure that we are staying culturally relevant while at the same time staying biblically faithful.
No, definitely. I mean, that's a constant struggle for me. I'll tell you that if you catch me on any given day of the week, man, I'm driving in my car. I have a Spotify playlist that is just modern worship music this year, next year. We're like what's coming. And I'm trying to stay up to date with that. And it's not just to sing the cool songs that everybody's singing, but to listen for the ones that I'm like, man, that is a great song. And I feel like our people need to sing that. I need to share this with my people. And it's a struggle, man. It's a struggle. It can be hard. We even look at our song bank and we say, okay, this song is 15 years old and we've sang the mess out of it.
Isn't that crazy though?
Yeah.
That when we say that, that's like a quote contemporary song.
Yeah.
But I
got a song for
We're
you.
still singing it because we're singing it much in the same way that we would sing hymns,
Yes.
because we are emotionally tied to it. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
It's 2 weeks ago, Lake City, they sang Oceans.
I'm aware they did it while I was on vacation.
At your request, you were inspired. sitting on the beach.
Oceans.
How many verses of Oceans they do? Like I'll see.
Oh no, it's a
It's the
9-minute
bridge
song.
that gets you.
It's
That's
a
the
9-minute
bridge that
song.
gets it. I'm going to say the worship team group text was, they were so psyched to do Oceans. And I'm like, yeah, y'all did that while I was on vacation. 100%.
Worship song of the year 2013 is 12 years old. It's crazy to think about because
I
I've
have
sang
a child
the mess out of
younger
that
than
song.
Oceans.
Isn't that crazy?
And I'm 41.
Oh, here, I got another one. This is a song, and this is probably one of the most popular worship songs of all time. And that is How Great Is Our God.
Yeah.
I love that song. You want to know when it was written?
Probably like 2004 or 5.
2004.
Yeah. And
It's
so
21 years old, and we still sing it fairly regular. I'll tag that song every now and then, and
I
it's still
think
great.
it's
dude. I love that.
It is that we are okay tagging that song, but that's not where we want our music to go. So let me ask you this, Lucas. What do you see as a worship leader in the value of introducing new songs continually to our people?
Yes, I would say the freshness that it brings to the environment in the worship setting. So Psalm 96 says, sing to the Lord a new song, sing to the Lord all the earth, sing to the Lord, bless his name, tell of his salvation from day to day. In that first line, sing to the Lord a new song, I think what that means to me, like how I interpret that in the worship setting, is sing something fresh to the Lord that is a new hallelujah.
Yeah, so that it doesn't just become rote.
Mm-hmm.
I think you brought up a good point, Lucas, so that it doesn't become more emotional than it is spiritual.
Yes.
You wanna maybe lean into that for us a little bit about how when we fall so in love with a song, it can actually lose maybe some of the value.
Yes, and that is a struggle for me as I try to lead faithfully every week. Bob Coughlin, in his book Worship Matters, he says, but being moved emotionally is different than being moved spiritually. And I think, oftentimes when we play into our preferences, and again, we're human beings. Everyone has a preference, right? My preference is that from 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning when I'm up drinking my coffee, my kids are not awake. Like, hey, you guys are not in that space. And I have a chance to not only wake up and drink my coffee, but hopefully spend some time with Jesus and just refocus and recharge for the day. And that is my preference. I think sometimes we as Christians, we bring our preferences far too often into the place of worship. And man, that whole setting, that entire morning is meant to be focused on the Creator, on Jesus, on the manifest presence of God. And if that is not our focus, we are driven emotionally. We can get into, hey, my preference is to sing a hymn that I grew up on. My preference is to sing this song every single week. This is another one. I'm going to take it even a step further. My preference is for this person to sing every song because they have the best voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is coming from an emotional preference that we desire.
Let's dive into that a little bit, because number one, I think we have to acknowledge that the heart of worship is the sacrifice of our preferences.
Yes.
So,
I mean, down to the very root, right?
I think that's got to be part of it, right? And that is, like you said, that's not even just the song. That's how the song is sang. That's who's singing that song. That's, oh, they didn't do this verse, or, and that's, from back in the hymns, right? So when we do hymns, we don't even do all the verses, but where the good theology is. We just do our favorite verses. But worship is about sacrificing. It is sacrificing our preferences. So I think that's an important thing. And then two, because you have an emotional attachment to a song does not make it bad. In fact, that emotional attachment, I think, can heighten our worship at times, but it can also detract from that because the focus becomes more the song than the Lord that we're singing to in the song.
Oh, yes, definitely. It becomes more what this song means to me and how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
Then I am directing my utmost adoration and praise to God because that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the other part of that for me, and this is me personally, is having new songs is almost kind of like working out. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Lucas works out a little bit.
Every time.
Every
time I'm on the podcast, it gets brought up that
Lucas, you're a physical specimen, man. Like just, an absolute dog over here. That's not water you're drinking right now.
It's protein water.
No.
What is it?
It's just a little hydration.
All right, so here's my point.
Creatine.
Here's my point.
No, it's not.
When you're working out, right? And I used to work out enough that I know this, that you just don't do the same 3 exercises over and over and over.
No.
Right? Because one, if you do, you're going to get diminishing returns.
You're looking at the wrong guy when you're saying this.
Two, if you do, you're just going to have like chicken legs all day long.
Hey, I want to point out that the last 2 weeks, Matt has called for a pinch runner in softball. He hits a single. He says, "Last out. Come on."
Let me defend myself real quick. At the risk of Trey being on the podcast next week and just absolutely blasting me. It is not
double off you or what?
No, he did not. But it is not because of cardiovascular. That is not why I have asked for a pinch runner. So
okay,
it's because Matt never stretches. So.
Yeah. Hey, same. Can't pull fat.
Anyway,
circa Pastor AJ, pulling every muscle in his body.
All right. So when you work out, it is important to introduce new exercises and to, in a lot of ways, shock the muscles to get the muscle growth out of them, right? I think that's important when we worship as well. So I'll give you a great example. For me, when you introduced the song, I think you introduced it at a night of worship, and maybe you'd done it in Live Oak before, but Tear Off the Roof, did not care for that song, just personally. I didn't care for that song the first couple times I heard it. I was like, that's fine. But I found myself, the more I engaged with it, like, no, this is good. And it brought me back to the scripture, of that story. And so in a lot of ways, it was like that new exercise that's being introduced to the system. Not a fan at first, but then you see the benefits and it grows you. So I think new music can help us with that as well.
No, I agree. Two things I want to share. Again, I feel like if you really want to study worship and it's like, I don't know, down to its root, I think that Bob Coughlin's book, Worship Matters, I read it in college and it really spoke a lot to me. And so he shared 2 things about worship in particular. In one of the first few chapters, it said, worship is about what we love, what we live for. It's about who we are before God. And then he quickly shared after that, worship is our response to who God is.
That's right.
And what he's doing in our lives. And so for us, going back to this question that we're on, being moved emotionally is different than being moved spiritually. When we come and our response is, I don't know the song, I don't like the music, I wish so-and-so was singing it, the lights are different. Man, what is the quality of our response in those moments?
I think that's key. The definition of worship is giving back to God what is his, right? It's our response to God. It's worship. He is worthy. And so really when you talk about different genres of, I like this, we're not saying preferences are bad. Like Spotify exists for you to have your own playlist and you can fill it with whatever type of genre, Christian music you want or whatever you listen to. And so it's not that one genre is more biblical or holy than the other. That's what we're trying to get at, is that there is no holy genre. There is no holy style. If the music, however it's composed, however it's written, I mean, for David, he worshiped with a harp. I have not seen a harp in any modern services that I know of.
He also danced naked. We're not doing that either.
Yeah, we are not doing that. But I just think that's the
Even
point
more
is
dignified, baby.
if it's
Let's go.
if it's with drums and an electric guitar, but it leads you to a place where you see God for who he is and you respond to who he is, then that's worship. If it's with a red or a blue book in your hand with nothing but a piano and it leads you to the throne of God and you see him for who he is and you respond accordingly, then that's worship. And so we need to understand that our preferences sometimes get in the way of worship, because if you think I can't worship to this type of music, then you aren't worshiping in the first place.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
in the Spurgeon Study Bible, there's a quote by him on the side when in one of the passages about, I want to say it might be Romans 12, which I'll share in just a minute, but he talks about the place of worship being like a supermarket where people come and they just want to consume. Like they're going to buy their stuff and they're just going to consume, but they're never really going to give back. And I think that's pretty deep, because I feel like far too often, again, on this idea of preferences, we go in wanting to consume. How can I get the most out of this? I think that's a noble thing, and not to get off topic any, but Bible Belt South, man, I think that we are raising our kids oftentimes to go to church, and that is a good thing. Like there is a noble intention in saying, hey, I want you to go to church. But right now I'm trying my absolute hardest, and I feel like we as fathers, as believers, we should be trying to raise our kids to love Jesus. Like, right, going to church is a byproduct and a side effect of loving Jesus and wanting and desiring, to worship the manifest presence of Almighty God with his people in the corporate setting. That is a great thing and it's a noble thing, but that can't be just it. Because when that becomes just it, we start to lean into our preferences. Man, I'm going to go to a different church because I don't like what they're doing here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
And that's what's so funny to me is that in a church like the Orchard that tries to be contemporary, again, hate that word, tries to be relevant,
modern,
that wants to make sure that we're engaging to people who are exploring faith, we can get accused oftentimes of, well, it's just all about personal preference and you're training consumers. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that consumer mentality does not exist in any genre, and it rises to the surface of every faith body that is out there, because it is, well, why don't we do this? Why can't we do this? I want to do this. And what that is, that's a consumer mentality. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, the importance is, and you said it, Matt, we're not saying preferences are wrong. We have to acknowledge them as preferences, right? In fairness, based on everything that we've said in this conversation, what we are saying is that our preference as a corporate church and the leadership of the Church of the Orchard, our preference for our church's worship style is that we be culturally relevant in our worship, and that we continue to engage in new worship songs. Now,
and to put that very practically in people's minds, I've heard Eddie say this. He said the goal was that expanding beyond Sunday, as Lucas mentioned, is part of that being culturally relevant. I mean, that term can be crucified by different churches. Like, oh, see, you're sacrificing the gospel. That doesn't mean you're sacrificing the gospel if you're trying to be relevant for the next generation. But I heard Eddie say this. He said part of the thought process too was, if you're in your car and you turn on any local radio station, we would love for you to be able to sing along on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday to the same songs that we're singing on a Sunday, right? And so that's part of the cultural relevance of that.
Yeah, sure.
Is that it actually expands your opportunities to engage with this God that we're singing to and about. And so you do it in a way that, hey, I could hear this song at any given moment on any Christian radio station, right? That's part of it as well. And so again, cultural relevancy is not like it's not taboo.
No,
it's not
that's
a
right.
bad thing.
That's
The
right. That is our
intentionality behind
preference
that is
because we think it's
intentionality.
better.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, we can argue about why it's better. Like you just said, that's a great point, that one of the reasons we think it's better, but we're acknowledging this is our preference. We're not saying that if you're not doing this, then you're being biblically unfaithful, or that you don't love lost people. That's not what we're saying. We're saying this is who we are as a church. Mm-hmm. The other part of that is there's a lot of churches that do it differently, so we don't need to copy them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I tell those people all the time. all the time. I say this all the time. In the Bible Belt South, we have the luxury of this, that finding a church is a lot like finding your boyfriend or your girlfriend. There's a lot of good options out there, but you have to be attracted to them. And in the Bible Belt South, there are a lot of options because we have the luxury of that. And so if you are not attracted to that worship style, if you're not attracted to something that they do, then you have the freedom to go and to church shop almost, right? Like in a positive way though. Like you can go and you can pretty much find something that aligns with your preferences. Now we would say it needs to be a good church, a Bible believing, teaching church, right? But there are 39 churches in the association in Live Oak alone in Suwannee County. I don't even know about Columbia. Like, so in our,
we're like 36.
So in our region, there's probably 100 churches in our 2 counties that you could pick from, And so the whole point is, if you're going to find a church and you're like, man, I really like the Orchard, but I wish they did this, this, and this. Well, there's probably a church that does this, this, and this. And we're not offended if you are more attracted
I try to tell
that
them
and you
all
go
the time
plug into
when
that.
they ask like, hey, why don't we do this or why don't we do that?
Choir. Why don't we have a choir?
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, look,
Choirs are making a
there
comeback,
are
by the
some
way.
There are
some phenomenal churches in the area that do choir in the best way.
Matter of fact, I know the name of a worship pastor. I'm happy to.
Yeah. Little shameless plug, First Baptist Live Oak, Alan Lott. No, but they do it in a great way. And again, to even speak to that, I don't like the LED lights, but I like the choir. First Baptist has awesome lighting. Like they have an incredible lighting.
I'll give you a real world example. Okay. So my grandma, she's in her 80s and she's come to Live Oak a few times just because I'm her grandson, right? She's going to hear her grandson preach.
What does she call you? No special nickname?
No.
You sure?
I thought it was a trick question at first. I'm like,
I was waiting on a special nickname like Maddie Poo.
no,
Dang it.
nada.
Been great.
Just Maddie.
Yeah. I despise that.
Maddie.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Matthew, she does not call me by.
So it's
his full
Matthew?
name. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so she's come, a couple times to Live Oak just because we're family, right? Like she's going to come and support and listen. And I know that this is not her preferred style. I know that this is not her preference. And so I'm not sitting there saying, hey, you should come to the Orchard every Sunday and you can be here and support your grandson. No, like go to the church that you're involved in,
Yes.
that you go to Sunday school at, that you sing in the choir at, like go. That's okay. I'm not trying to sway you because if that's your preference, then go and be involved there because it's a Bible believing teaching church and then go and be involved.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because there are a lot of good churches out there that do traditional hymn-based worship. What I would say is that people attend the Orchard probably because of their preferences. And there's a lot of them who the way we worship is the way we do worship music, let me say, is not their preference, but their preference is to be a part of a church that teaches the scriptures in a relevant way, that is focused on reaching lost people, that is impacting young families. And so that worship style preference is subservient to all their different preferences.
Right.
And we're great with that too. And so really it's just about acknowledging that preferences are preferences and you're going to have to lay some preference on the table. Like you're just going to have to say, you know what, it's just not going to be because the truth is there's no perfect church out there. Yeah. And if you find it, don't join it, you'll mess it up.
All right. Let me be the contrarian just so that we can hit this from all angles. Right. So one of the common criticisms, not about the Orchard, I just see, on social media posts or whatever. And a lot of times it comes back to we sing hymns and all this stuff. One of the criticisms is we worship, not we as the Orchard, just contemporary churches who do contemporary music. We worship with the lights off. Is that a valid argument? And if so, why? Or why do you think that's a sticking point for some people?
Well, so let me start by saying that's just a statement of fact.
We do that, so that's what I'm asking.
That's what I'm getting to say. What is the criticism that accompanies it?
I don't know. Honestly, that's one of my things. Is like I see people say that a lot on viral posts or whatever as a criticism, but I'm not sure why it's a criticism.
Yeah, I don't know what the criticism would be.
So let's just say, why do we do it? Maybe let's just answer it for the people.
So,
all right, let me, as the non-musical old man at the table, let me answer this. The reason
currently wearing glasses.
Currently wearing glasses. The reason that the lights are off and the music is loud is because we don't want you looking around at everybody else, and we don't want you to hear yourself sing and being self-conscious about how bad it sounds.
Yeah. So I think that's
I don't
probably
know that's the right answer, but that's my two answers.
I think that's
most
probably
practical
the
answer.
criticism, though, is they are saying, oh, you're ashamed of worship. And so you don't want people to see you raising your hands or something.
No, we know that the majority of people in the room have ADHD.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say, and I agree, and you can speak to this, Lucas, but
Yeah.
if that's somebody and that's a sticking point for whatever reason, we actually do it. And I've heard Michael talk about this. Like the reason that we pull the lights down is to minimize distractions, because if the only light in the room is coming from the stage, naturally the way the body functions is that your eyes are drawn there. And so that person leading is then leading you in worship, right there. So I think that's the reason that we do it. I don't think there's a criticism in that.
Well, and so let's just be really, really honest, because this is podcast. That's what we do. There are lines that we struggle with finding the line as well, right? Because on our stages, we don't just have white lights turned up there. We have colored lights. We have production lights. There has been the Haze machine battle, for a while. We've used it at events. It's funny though, because the event that we brought it into a night of worship on, it was a group of volunteers who were running all that brought it in, because the running joke, is it a joke, is that I said I was going to fire whoever put a Haze machine on the stage. And they're like, you can't fire us. We're volunteers. So point is this, there are things that are out there that do create an ambiance and an atmosphere that are not necessary for worship. And in some cases, I'm afraid can make it more of a production than we want worship to be.
Right, absolutely.
And we really try to find the line there. And I think it's important, if you're listening to this, to know that those are conversations that we have.
Yes.
Like, to be completely fair, I'm still not convinced in the benefits of a Haze machine on stage in a worship set. However, we have somebody who volunteers at our church who does production for a living and does it at big venues, who are like, look, the point is not so it looks hazy. The point is because it helps your lights do the job that you want them to do, such as create the focus and environment that you want it to create. So there's conversations around all of that, but I think it's important that everybody knows none of that is we want it to look cool. Like, that's not the point of any of this. We want it to look cool. We're trying to create an atmosphere that is the most conducive we can to worship. Bottom line, that's what we're trying to do. And there are conversations we have as a staff about the best way to go about that.
Yes, and I mean, honestly, to answer Matt's question, I think your first response was the most practical. Like, we are trying to create an environment. There is nothing wrong with trying to make your people feel comfortable and like make it easier for them to express themselves in worship, to a non-distractional, way. And I think that's what we're trying to do. We turn out the lights because we don't want you to look around and see everybody else and see what they're doing. We turn up the music so you can't hear so-and-so off pitch in your ear and you still feel comfortable and led to worship. And
yeah, I would say, to the second point about the music being louder, I say this all the time, and I don't know music in and out. Here's what I do know, though. As someone who cannot sing, I do not want to be able to hear myself sing on Sunday morning. I want to sing, and I want to engage with the music and the worship in singing, and I'm going to do that. But I found myself, if the volume is lower, I sing lower, because I'm self-conscious because I can't sing. And I'm like, the poor people around me, if I sing loud enough over the music, then they're going to go home and they're going to be like, what in the world? I couldn't even focus on worship because I was so distracted by the guy in the front row. And so I think that's just, again, a practical thing. I think across the board, if you were to survey, you would see more people engaging in worship if the volume is a little bit louder than they can hear themselves sing. And that is just a practical thing. And again, if the point is worship, we want the most people to be engaged in worship and not being self-conscious about everything else going on about, oh my goodness, can the people next to me hear me sing?
Completely.
Right? And that doesn't mean that you're ashamed of what you're singing. It means that you're ashamed of how you're singing. And those are two very different things.
Yeah. So to that note, I say this all the time. I feel like the two signs of a healthy church, not the only two, but two signs of a healthy church are singing men and crying babies, right? We've got the crying babies in the nursery, mostly in the nursery.
Yeah.
But
mine is somewhere in the... Third row.
Yeah, but if we can create the environment those men feel comfortable to sing, the Lord says, make a joyful noise unto the Lord. I think Absolutely. If we can create that environment that gets those men singing and their families see them singing, man, they're leading them spiritually and they see that. And we are trying to create that environment. It's 100%. Not, there's nothing wrong with trying to make those guys feel more comfortable in that setting.
To me, it's reducing barriers, right? Yes. If a barrier is the volume and you being able to hear yourself from you actually wholeheartedly engaging in worship, then I will do my part to crank it up a little bit so that barrier is removed. Now it's between you and how you respond.
And again, change of setting, right? We have Tuesday morning refuels and I have a guitar in there, and half the time that's the worst you're ever going to hear me sing because it's early in the morning and I'm cracking.
One guitar and lights on.
Yeah, it's lights on and we're all still worshiping in that setting, but you guys still feel free to sing out. And I mean, like, it's just it's the posture of the heart. I mean, we can say all we want to, it's about this, it's about that. But man, Romans 12, therefore, brothers and sisters, in view of the mercies of God, I urge you to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true worship. Present yourselves, right, before the Lord. Do not be conformed, be transformed. It just says as a living sacrifice, right? You are sacrificing something, and that is sacrificing what you prefer, what you request. You are a living sacrifice. And if you're living that way outside of the Sunday morning setting, whenever you step in there, whatever sung, you're gonna lock in and you're gonna say, hey, I'm here to worship Jesus.
Yeah. Well, so a couple other things I want to hit before we move on from this topic. Number one, I think we just go ahead and throw it out there because you just led into it, Lucas, is that we also want to acknowledge that worship goes far beyond music and singing.
Right.
Yes.
Matter of fact, we would say that the pinnacle of worship is not when the songs are being sung, but it's when the word of God is opened and it gets our attention and ultimately our obedience. That's the highest form of worship in our worship services. So we need to acknowledge that first and foremost.
Yes.
The second thing is when we talk about the preference side of worship and the contemporary relevant, I'm telling you, I get like chills every time I hear contemporary, just like, ugh,
Yeah. I'm going to get you a bumper sticker and slap it on the back of your.
Yeah, you would.
Contemporary pastor.
Yes, that's
senior global pastor.
Senior global pastor. The idea there, though, is that relevant worship, there are other churches in our part of the world that do the same type of worship service that we do. Lights down, music up, relevant songs, whatever. But there's not many, and in our area, maybe not any, that do worship that way and share our theology.
Right.
And that just is what it is. Most churches in our area that share our theology do not share the style of worship that we, use on Sunday mornings. The churches that at least come close to sharing our style of worship on Sunday mornings don't really share our theology. We're not saying that they're not Christians, that they don't love Jesus, but it's just not our theology. And so we really do feel like that puts us in a unique cross section of what we feel is biblically sound theology, but relevant worship. And that's something that, I mean, honestly, as a pastor, that I love about our church.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. And I say that because I've had conversations with people. We have a lot of people, and I can speak to Live Oak specifically, but we have a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds as far as church backgrounds go. And I think a lot of that is because the front door that they see is, oh, here's a church that does the kind of music that I prefer. Let's call it that, right? Prefer. And so they gravitate to us, and then, we are who we are doctrinally and theologically, and we are not shy about that. We don't back down from that. We don't, I would say we don't take a soft approach. Like in my 3 years here, we've talked about some things and I'm like, oh, this is going to be uncomfortable. Right. And it's uncomfortable to prepare for. It's
anybody who talks about
hear.
that at the Orchard, we want to tickle ears and water down the gospel has never been.
Yeah. But that's our point is that, but that's our point is I think the false dichotomy that I alluded to earlier is like, you have to be one or the other. And we're saying, no, you can do both. Yeah. And that's who we are. That's what we want to be. We want to be relevant as far as engaging with the next generation. We're very intentional about that. My kids appreciate that. My kids ask all the time, hey, Dad, can you put this on YouTube or Spotify? We're riding in the truck. Hey, can we listen to this song? And the song that they're requesting is a song that we sung on Sunday, you know? So like there's a relevance to that. But we are adamant that we firmly believe the Bible to be true, and we're going to teach it for what it is, and we're not going to back down from that. And so we just think that you can do both and hopefully do both well, and that's kind of our goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And you made me think of this, Matt, when you mentioned, you know, your daughter's being like, hey, we turn this on to the car. If you want to see the value in being a part of a church that does relevant worship, be at O-Day on August the 17th and stay for our family night of worship at the end and watch the kids worship and parents be able to worship with them. And as much as, quite honestly, I love some hymns such as It Is Well and Come Thou Fount and Great Is Thy Faithfulness.
Before we run out of time, we got to say this. All right. So I hear this all the time, right? When it comes to hymns, and hymns are superior. That's kind of the attitude that's taken. And hopefully we've debunked that. Does anybody know? Everybody loves It Is Well. You sing it at a funeral, you sing it at church, whatever. Right? It's one of the top probably 10 hymns of all time. Everybody loves it. Does anybody know Horatio Spafford's theology? Right?
I don't
like we sing the hymn. He's the guy who wrote it. After the Chicago fire, he loses his business. He loses his kids in the shipwreck. He writes this song in response to all of that.
Yeah.
And I hear like all the time, like, how you guys are singing contemporary songs and you don't even know the theology, or I disagree with the theology of who wrote it. Right. Like, let's just say what it, like Bethel writes a ton of music today. Right.
Bethel is crazy.
And
good songs, bad theology.
And so but this is the argument that I've heard, and there's YouTube videos on this is why we don't sing Bethel songs, because we disagree with their theology. Right. Like, and I hear this. And my immediate thought is, okay, but you're fine with singing It Is Well. Have you ever read up on Horatio Spafford's theology?
Yeah.
And so the disconnect for people is you shouldn't even sing those songs. And I'm like, the goodness of God is a phenomenal song. Like lyrically, theologically, biblically, there's nothing in that song that I would say, oh, this is heretical. And so because they produced it, should we not
Because
sing it,
Matt keeps bearing the lead. Horatio Spafford was a universalist and did not believe in the exclusivity of Jesus Christ as salvation.
But what did he write?
It is well with me.
He wrote It Is Well. Is there anything wrong with that song? Absolutely not. We sing it all the time. And theologically, it's like, hey, even when it's not, it is.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's a really good
and that's
point.
Biblical. And what we would say is, okay, but his theology, you don't agree with everything he said theologically or he believed theologically. And so the way that people flip it today is, oh, you shouldn't even sing that Bethel song because their theology is this. Well, then you shouldn't even sing the song. And I'm like, okay, but the song can be detached from the theology. And we see that in reverse It Is Well. Horatio Spafford, at the end of his life, denied the existence of hell. We would say that's heresy.
Yeah.
And yet nobody has a problem singing the song that he wrote, It Is Well, because it is grounded biblically and it proclaims biblical truth. And so for us, on the reverse side of this, is some of the contemporary arguments are, well, you probably shouldn't even sing that song because of who wrote it or whatever. And I'm thinking, no, you need to take every song, you need to evaluate it against the scriptures. And this is what I do when I sing personally, when I worship, is the reason that I'm able to worship is because the song draws me back to the scriptures. And the scriptures are inspired. The scriptures are inerrant. The songs are not. Nobody has written an inerrant song or an inspired song, right? And so the scriptures are those songs as they lead us to worship, hopefully draw us back to scripture, draw us back to biblical truth. And that is then what enables us to worship along with the emotional and the musical component. It draws us into this place where we are able to, on a different level than just words, where we can worship with the full expression of who we are. And even emotions aren't a bad thing, but emotions aren't the goal. Emotions are the subsequent acts of true worship, where we feel this on a very personal level as we engage with spiritual truth. So anyway, before we end it, I just need to throw that out there. A lot of people, I've heard it over and over again. A lot of people say that, oh, you shouldn't do this or this or this, or what about this group and they wrote this song. And for me, it's like, it's not about who wrote it. It's, I'm going to take every song. I'm going to evaluate it. I'm going to read through the lyrics. And I do this all the time. I'm going to read through the lyrics. If I'm good with the lyrics biblically, because the songs point me back to scripture, then I have the freedom to worship with that song. And I can disagree with the person who wrote it in their theology.
Look, I already agreed with you beforehand, but I don't know how anybody hears that and does not agree with it.
Yeah.
Like I already agree with
that's
it beforehand.
That's it.
That's
plain and simple, black and white. I think that's exactly where I stand. Like, you come ask me why we chose to sing this song. This group does this group does that. Their pastor that leads this church is borderline heretic, whatever. He's saying these things, he's doing these things. And I'm like, look at the song. Is it biblical? Does it line up spiritually and biblically? And if it does, I'm going to sing it.
Right.
Yeah. So here's the last question I think we should answer. How many emails or phone calls or texts are we getting out of this podcast?
Me personally, I'm getting none.
I don't know.
You or Lucas, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. No. Seriously, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us because we don't mind talking about this.
Let's go to coffee.
Absolutely. Just know
Or
that,
Chick-fil-A.
Hey,
we got one in
Live Oak has Chick-fil-A.
Let's go.
all right. So does that mean Branford's getting one?
I don't know.
Probably not. Maybe they'll get the truck. I
think they already do.
Do they?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The truck makes its rounds, so
Yeah.
it probably stops in Branford. I know it stops in Mayo.
Yeah. So do we? Is that now a multi-site Chick-fil-A?
Oh,
Because it has the
Chick-fil-A
truck?
been multi-site, baby.
I was about to say.
one
Chick-fil-A's
company,
gotta
many
go.
thousands locations.
Yes, yes.
Well, I think it's been a good conversation. Hopefully it's helped you. Here's some big takeaways. Just kind of summarize it before we sign off. Number one, we're not anti-hymns. We all have our preferences. We've acknowledged ours, and we have reasons that we think this is better. However, do not come at us with, you don't know the theology of the people who wrote that song. Okay, neither do you. And don't come at us with the theology of hymns are better than that of the contemporary music, because that is a generalized statement that doesn't hold up when you just look at it from a bigger perspective. But if you're willing to come and say, hey, hymns are my preferences, we can have a conversation. That's totally fine. And I do think, though, part of who the Orchard is we want to be biblically faithful, culturally relevant. That's why our preference is to do relevant and contemporary music on Sunday mornings. And I think, it's been effective. And if that's not your preference, then maybe your preference of seeing lost people reached and young people engaged, maybe that is enough to say, you know what, even though this isn't my preference, I'm willing to set that aside because this is still where I want to call home.
Yeah, periodically, this is my last thought here. Periodically, I've thought this, and right now it's sitting heavy on my heart because I have friends around the world in different church settings who don't have the privilege we have on Sunday mornings. Like they fear for their life when they meet on Sunday morning to worship because it's illegal to convert, or there's radicalist groups. When we meet, it is a massive privilege to worship God in the public setting and in the corporate setting, and we need to always remember that our praise is the rehearsal of our eternal song. By grace, we learn to sing, and in glory, we continue to sing. Like we are practicing for what eternity looks like. And are we going to rehearse well? Are we going to bring our bodies as a living sacrifice, sacrificing what we prefer? And are we going to have a great response, right? Our worship is our response to who God is. Is our response going to be a great response?
Love it. Love it. Any final thoughts?
At the risk of going on for hours, no.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we got to stop it when we can stop it.
Seriously.
All right. Well, I hope this conversation again was helpful and that you'll join us back next week for our next episode of Let's Talk About That.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk About That. We hope it encouraged and challenged you as we continue to grow on this journey of faith and embrace community together. If you have any questions, thoughts, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us through our social media channels or visit our website to stay connected. Your support is what makes this podcast impactful. If you found today's discussion meaningful, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share the episode with a friend, and leave a review. Your engagement helps us spread the message and connect with others who can be encouraged through these conversations. Until next time, we hope this episode inspired you to live out your faith this week. Keep the conversations alive, and remember, we're all on this journey together.